Yeah, you know what time it is. Valhalla Hour, let's go! Kick back, put on your headphones tight. Rob and Matt, bringing fire every night. From the land of 10,000 lakes, we rule the scene. With a crew so fresh, keeping it raw and clean. Minnesota Vikings, kings of the North. We wear our purple heart and let the battle roar forth. Breaking down the game, dissecting the plays. With passion so fierce, we'll set the night ablaze. So give us a follow, hit that like. Share it with your crew, you know we're about to strike. Valhalla Hour podcast, living life bold, where legends are made and stories are told.
This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Valhalla Hour. I'm your host, Sir SoCal. I've got Rob Haspels, and I got Mr. Jonathan Winkleman. Before we begin today's show, let us pause for a moment to remember the original Iron Man, number 70, should be Hall of Famer, Jim Marshall. Jim Marshall passed away earlier this week after a long and lengthy illness. One of the founders of the Purple People Eaters. He will be terribly missed. This entire franchise owes a huge debt of gratitude to the original Iron Man, Jim Marshall. So this show, we're going to talk a lot about Jim and what it means to lose the original NFL Iron Man. Rob, let's start with you. What does this mean?
Probably one of my most prized possessions is a combination matching 4-numbered jersey with all the Purple People Eaters, and then a helmet as well that has the autographs of all 4 Purple People Eaters. And, I donate a lot of what I get to charity every year for, raffles. We support the Minnesota Children's Hospital. We support cancer patients. We, unfortunately donate a lot towards raising money for funeral expenses lately. It seems we've been losing way too many people and everything. Those are 2 things I'll never get rid of, just because, I was born in 1977 and, missed a lot of those years of the Purple People Eaters. But, growing up through the late 70s and the early 80s and everything, watching the Vikings every Sunday, we'll always remember them talking about, just a few short years beforehand, the heyday of the Vikings with the Purple People Eaters. And Jim Marshall, you look at what he accomplished, 270 consecutive games starting, 4 Super Bowl appearances. He was a captain for 14 years in a row on that defense. And how Jim has never made it into the Hall of Fame yet, I don't know. If it was the wrong way run for the safety instead of the touchdown, I've always thought that him being pigeonholed for that was incredibly unfair.
But let's not forget that we won that game.
And yes, and then just the fact that people will talk about his stats and his numbers in terms of things like sacks. Look at his fumble recoveries, career-wise, not so much. And they didn't really keep track of pressures and stuff like that. But you also got to realize he is playing on one of the most renowned and star-studded defensive lines that have ever existed in history. There were 3 other guys that he had to, share the wealth with as well.
Meet at the quarterback.
In my opinion, Jim Marshall should have been inducted in the Hall of Fame while he was alive, and it's a travesty that he wasn't.
So I'm going to play this. This was from a tribute video that the Minnesota Vikings had made for Jim.
Absolutely.
282 starts. Here's his what you were just mentioning. So I'm also gonna
Like
talk about
it's a
his
travesty that he didn't make the Hall of Fame. Period. Tragedy.
well, here's the thing. Something must have happened. We don't know what. We don't know why he never got that gold when he should have. We will never know why. And Winkleman, what is your take on this? Losing the original Iron Man.
Well, honestly, my take is he should have been in the Hall of Fame first ballot. I mean, I don't care if he had a judge on the other side and Ellen Page, because those two right there made this team. Now, I give you Millard was there. I give you that he had talent on that defensive line. I give you he had talent behind him in that free safety. What's his name? I forget.
Paul Krause.
Paul
Exactly.
Krause. That's a record that'll never be broken.
Yep.
Yep. Krause is probably one of the best free safeties we've had. And
We had Bobby Bryan at corner.
Yep.
I mean, that defense in itself can't be replicated. And you're telling me that one of the players isn't a Hall of Famer? That defense was a Hall of Fame defense.
Absolutely. If you had to rank the top 4 defenses possibly in history, which would be the Purple People Eaters, the Steelers Steel Curtain, Dallas's Doomsday Defense, and the 01 Baltimore Ravens. And I'm not even putting Seattle's Legion of Boom in there because they won games, but they did not have what those other defenses did. Where would you, not being biased as a Vikings fan, where would you guys put the Purple People Eaters in that? I'm saying top 2.
Yeah.
Same here.
Top 2.
Yeah. Top 2. I'm
Top
also
2.
going to throw in there as an honorable mention.
Just given the numbers that they had as a unit.
I'm also going to throw in there an honorable mention to the Broncos Orange Crush line.
Yeah.
Broncos and the Rams.
I was just going to say the Rams, they had a
Yeah, the fearsome foursome was.
Yes.
But the fact that Joe Cap kind of called him out on the Deacon Jones on his first snap kind of gets me going on that.
I love Joe Cap.
They don't make defenses like they used to. Not
No,
anymore.
not anymore.
They don't make quarterbacks like Joe Cap anymore.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that because I mean we got something brewing of our own with Brian Flores.
True.
But Kevin O'Connell had mentioned this also in the video. I do want to play this. I hope we don't get copyright striked. But this does mean a lot. This is part of the legacy that number 70 leaves.
Steve, when they walk in the building every day, is the Jim Marshall Vikings captain's legacy wall. I think it's really important, huge part of our history, and a great way to honor the greatest captain in the history of our organization, one of the best defensive players to ever do it.
He was, if anybody ever had the heart and soul of Minnesota Vikings. It was my high honor to play next to him.
He was a special player. Many times you're asked about who are the greatest players. As a coach, you can't say who is the best, but there is a category you do have, and that is special. Jim Marshall was special.
Coming from the legend Coach Grant himself.
Yeah.
Well, it has to say something that he played for us for so many years, and he only had one season outside of the Minnesota Vikings, and that was with the Cleveland Browns.
Yep.
Yeah, nobody remembers Alan Page for playing for the Bears for one or
Dude,
two
I
seasons.
was just gonna. I took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, but how many years did he play for the Bears?
Like 1 or 2, I think
Yeah.
2.
About 2, yeah. Like,
But-
Oh, here we go, Broski Bear. Hey,
it don't matter.
hey,
I mean,
I'll
he had his prime. Alan
Broski,
Page had his prime
Broski.
in the Minnesota Vikings.
Broski, I'll give you guys number 1. I'll give us number 2. We'll call it even.
I was waiting for a Bears fan to chime in on that bit with the defense. I was just waiting. Broski, you come through in the clutch every single time. Love having you comment on these shows.
So, for those of you who didn't see the video, I actually have a picture of it. So in Egan, they have this. This is the Jim Marshall Captain's Legacy Wall. He was spent 14 years as a captain for this team. That's unheard of. And this was last year's team captains, following in the footsteps of the great.
Yeah.
And I know one of our viewers, Moses, I don't know if you're watching, but this does show, how loved he was. Not just by the Vikings and the fan base, but the entire NFL. Like Steve Sable, even gave remarks in this video. One guy said they put some special parts on him when he came down the assembly line. Holy moly.
Yeah. So, Broski, the reason why we didn't mention the 85 Bears is because the Purple People Eaters were a force in the NFL in defense between 1969 to 1978, roughly. Okay. There's 4 Super Bowl appearances. The Pittsburgh Steelers Steel Curtain, same time frame, 4 Super Bowl wins.
Yep.
Dallas, granted, that doomsday defense, that you don't have the appearances, the wins in that particular time frame, but still, an absolute force. And the Baltimore Ravens, that 2001 Ravens defense was something that they started building already in 1997, or as soon as the Ravens became a thing and everything after the Browns had collapsed. They had started building that from day one. It culminated in 2001. It had been cooking for several years. I mean,
they're still dominant this year on defense.
Yeah, if the 85 Bears defense was the defense and they had been dominant from, like, let's say 1980 to 1990, it would be a different story, but it's a little bit hard to put that in there.
And I agree. Like you
John
can't sit
Dorn
there.
has yes, John Dorn sums it up in one sentence. Of all people, Dorn comes through in the clutch. One hit wonder Bears. Good job, Dorn.
Man.
Keep them coming.
But like it's a one-hit wonder, but at the same time, they had one good year at defense, and you had to play your defensive tackle at fullback for a long time, and
to be honest, but we're talking about a couple years versus a decade of dominance out of some of these other units,
Right.
And that's all because the front office in Chicago, being honest, if you look at it today, it's their front office that's the issue. Because you can ask any Bear fan. It's always been your front office. Because you think about it.
Yes, Broski, I've heard of Mike Singletary. He was a defensive coach for the Minnesota Vikings for a couple of years.
Oh yeah, Mike Singletary. Yeah, let's talk about why you fired what's that Ryan guy? I forget.
Rex Ryan?
No, not Rex Ryan.
Bobby Ryan?
Bobby Ryan, yeah. in 85, right? Why was there such a comparison? I mean, such a fight between your head coach and your defensive coordinator.
I mean, yeah, Purple People Eaters,
There
according
wasn't
to
any fight in with the Purple People leaders. There was no fight in the Steelers in the Steel Curtain. There was no fight with the Rams, in that fearsome foursome.
Yep. And then the Broncos with the Orange Crush.
yeah. Well, we can't also forget the New York Sack Exchange with the Jets.
Right. Yeah.
So Broski's pretty worked up over us omitting the Bears. Yeah, I mean, you had great players. You had Hall of Fame players on that 85 Bears defense. And yes, they were good for more than just 1 year. But a decade of dominance like these other units, I'm sorry, I'm not seeing it. Darren?
No.
Not seeing it.
I didn't see a decade of dominance. I mean, obviously I wasn't born yet, but when I was old enough to go and fucking study, no, I didn't see it, dude. Now, did I see it with the Vikings? Yes. Did I see it with the Steelers? Yes. Did I see it with the Broncos? Yes. Did I see it with the Rams? Yes. Did I see it with the Ravens? Yes.
So ESPN's page 2 ranks this. This was way back when. I mean, this is old. So they rank the defenses, the best defenses of all time. Number 1, of course, it is the Steel Curtain with Mean Joe Green, Jack Lambert, the Iron Curtain or the Steel Curtain. 85 Bears, number 2. They have
I
the
don't agree with
2000
that.
Ravens. And at number 4 is the Purple People Eaters. The 71 Purple People Eaters.
So
Why not the 69?
Broski has another question here. He's like, they won the Super Bowl. Talk about the 85 Bears. Correct. What did the mighty Purple People Eaters win? Well, let's talk about wins here. So the Vikings became a team in 1961. Prior to the Vikings coming in and then subsequently playing the Bears every year, the Bears in their history have won, I believe, 8 NFL championships: 1921, 32, 33, 40, 41, 43, 46. And then the
What have
last
they done with
NFL
that Hollis?
championship was 1963. And then there was a drought until 1985. Well, what changed? Oh yeah,
Minnesota Vikings.
The Vikings entered the chat. The Purple People Eaters became a thing. The Bears won 1 championship 2 years after the Vikings came into existence. They won one more fluke one in 1985 because they happened to have a massive defense that played together well for a couple of years, and then they haven't won shit since. So I think it speaks more of a team that was regularly winning all of these championships, and then all of a sudden, this thing called the Minnesota Vikings comes into existence. Purple People Eaters dominate for a decade, and you stop winning. I mean, that kind of tells you right there. I don't think we're talking about the right thing here when you're trying to put a value to what the Purple People Eaters and Jim Marshall mean.
Hey, Rob, I've got a question. What about the Detroit Lions?
I mean, they're kind of.
I mean, they haven't won anything since we've been in the league.
No, I mean, yeah. They're in the same category as the Bears. The thing called the Vikings came into existence. I mean, their last championships came in like the late 50s. Vikings coming in the early 60s.
And technically, if you want to count, if we want to be technical, 69 is technically the same championship
It was the same championship, and yes, the Vikings were the 1969 NFL League champions, and then played the Kansas City Chiefs, who were the AFL League champions in the Super Bowl and lost. But
Right.
I halfway think if they did find the trophy, didn't they? Wasn't it in Green Bay?
Yes.
The Thorpe Trophy.
They said
Yep.
it in the Packers museum. The Packers got it.
Yeah, we need to get that thing back in Minnesota. maybe
My thing is, why the fuck did they got it? They got their own fucking trophies of those. Why the fuck did they need ours?
right?
To fucking troll us?
Yep.
Yes.
That's our fucking curse right there. Our fucking shit's there.
Okay, so let's all go steal it right now.
Rob, would you like to care to handle that one?
Oh, let's see what's he got now. Vikings racking up playoff wins under KOC as well. Not. Well, you know what? At least the same time that the Vikings have had KOC as what you've had your last two coaches, we've made the playoffs. So there is that. And
but they made the playoffs
Rob, another thing you can talk to him about is that fucking quarterback fucking circus that's been going on.
yeah, I think they're
playing musical quarterback.
I mean, you look at it, Malik Willis is a better quarterback than Jordan Love.
Oh, they're talking about the Bears.
Season.
Winkleman. They're talking about the Bears quarterback situation.
You're
that's a whole
right.
lot of misses on a whole lot of first-round quarterbacks. I can tell you that.
That's true. I mean, Mitchell Trubisky, Justin Fields.
Just to inject a little bit of seriousness with my little snap back at Broski there. You watch the show almost every week, and you've heard us talk that the biggest thing of why we keep exiting early in the playoffs has been the offensive line, specifically the interior of the offensive line. Both guards in the center have been ass for years and years. We have two really good tackles in Darisaw and O'Neal, but Bradbury was an absolute liability basically since the day he was drafted. It's just they managed to cover it up. Where they could no longer cover it up anymore is anytime we faced a top 5 interior defensive line, especially guys that had a huge nose tackle that could push up front, we would collapse. And all of our playoff losses are excellent examples of that, but none better than last year against the Rams. I don't know how many times that Darnold was sacked, but it was an incredible number. And it's just every single time the ball was snapped, our offensive line was collapsed. Finally, for the first time in a decade, the Vikings have taken drastic measures to beef up the interior offensive line. And we've been talking the past couple of weeks, what's been the difference, or what is going to be the difference? What do we got to do to get over the hump to start making runs into the playoffs, especially when you have a freaking 14-win season? I think that's the biggest thing they could have done was fixing that O-line the way that they've done and making that basically the number one priority in the offseason, because they know it too. This is a good team that is loaded with talent, is being hamstrung by, not being able to face the elite defenses without getting absolutely bowled over.
And then switching to the defensive side, bringing in two veterans like Jonathan Allen and Hargrave really helps out coming from a veteran standpoint for our front seven.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, we got better on the interior of both lines.
Yeah.
By a ways. And obviously
by a long ways.
They know that Jonathan Allen and Hargraves both are some mean dudes, but probably at the age as to where, you don't want them taking every snap for 17 games. Yeah, so
But
they've
we
got
have the depth
they brought
on
both.
both
Yep.
lines to cover
Yep.
that.
And that's why you throw in the X factor of that D line, which you're switching out Jonathan Allen and Hargrave for Harrison Phillips, who's no slouch.
Harrison Phillips is going to be a starter. Like, it's going to be Hargrave, it's going to be Jonathan Allen, and it's going to be Harrison Phillips as our starters. It's behind that. It's the Tommy I forget that
Levi
nose
Drake
tackle.
Rodriguez,
Yeah, Rodriguez,
Taki,
yeah.
Tiamani.
Tommy, that's who I'm talking. Tamani.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even think he's gonna make the roster.
No, Tommy Tamani is going to make the roster. We don't have that big of a freaking depth at nose tackle to sit there and say, well, he's not going to make the roster. This guy is a freaking beast. He's a nose tackle. We don't have another nose tackle.
You talking about Harrison Phillips?
Harrison Phillips is 297.
Yeah,
I'm
he's a
talking
little.
about a big man. I'm talking about a big man who can hold up
Right.
more than one offensive lineman.
Yes, because if we were in a 4-3, which we should have never went to a 3-4 base, I'm going to repeat this again for the second week in a row. I think it's an absolute travesty that the team that brought you, the Purple People Eaters, has a 3-4 base defense, although with Flores running stuff, it really doesn't matter what. Harrison Phillips has always been more of a build and a skill set for what a 3 technique would be and not a straight up nose tackle. He's undersized for a nose, and he's got more of a 3 technique skill set, in my opinion. I think that's really why it's so important that you have, guys like Jonathan Allen or Hargraves or whatever. And I still feel like we need to draft a mountain of a man at some point in time in the near future and everything to be a future nose tackle for this freaking team that can just absolutely crush a center. When that ball snaps, move that center back in a fashion that hurts him not only physically but on an emotionally and spiritual level too. We need one of them big nasty Kevin. We need a Pat Williams.
Yes,
that's exactly who I was bringing up. Like that, I wish we had a Pat Williams here.
Yep,
or even a Linval Joseph.
Yes,
exactly, because Linval Joseph can do that too.
Linval was the last real nose tackle we had on this team.
That's all we're missing.
Yep. Well, I want to move to some around the league discussion. So the biggest news this week, and boy, people are harping on this too, and rightfully so. Aaron Rodgers is going to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I can't even do it without laughing. All right, Aaron Rodgers is going to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, the question is, does he make it to our matchup in Dublin?
Oh, Darren, I don't even know where to start. Darren, help me out in this one.
So, I think he makes it to Dublin. I'm more excited to beat him in Ireland, considering that I'm Irish American, and for him to fucking get his ass beat on Irish soil is just gonna help make my whole year. The rest of my year is gonna be cemented by us kicking the Lions' ass on Netflix. But I think Rodgers getting his ass kicked in Dublin is gonna make for a great Viking season. The Steelers, I look at their roster compared to the Vikings, do not match up well in this at all.
My question is, does Rodgers play the Bears at Rodgers Field?
I don't know who this year. I think they do. But I don't know where. Let me look up the Bears schedule here. All right.
No.
I mean, he is the owner, so I mean, the owner wants to show up. The owner shows up.
Yep.
Oh yeah, they did November 23rd.
Well, as long
And
as
it
he
is-
beats,
Aaron
we all know
Rodgers
who's going to
yes,
win that game.
The Steelers will be in Soldier. It'll be in Soldier Field. Yes.
You're talking Rodgers Field, right?
I'm sorry, Bear fans.
I'm sorry, Rob,
Sorry.
but
Bear
we
fans.
gotta call it Rodgers Field.
I'm sorry, Bear fans, but I think you're getting your ass kicked. No way. Caleb's gonna be able to run from
TJ Watt.
TJ Watt. Yes. Don't break a nail, Caleb. Don't break a nail.
Well, he still has to. They still have to collect. He still has to throw the ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does what's Pittsburgh's O line look like these days, you guys? I'm asking. I honestly don't know. Because you want to make Aaron Rodgers one malcontented cancer in the clubhouse really
judging
quick.
from
Let him get
what they
into
had
action.
with Russell Wilson and you had Kenny Pickett,
And they also had Justin Fields.
Doesn't look good against our front seven.
Against our front seven.
Yeah, doesn't look good against
Yes,
ours.
guys,
but against their front seven,
going against the Bears, I feel like it's like it's a draw.
Yeah, this is going to be super interesting because if guys that are known for their ability to scramble, like Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, are scrambling on a regular basis in Pittsburgh, wait till you put our pass rush up there, and then you've got the Hayahuska smoke and Statue of Liberty standing back there. That's probably not going to go too well for
him. Yeah, but they do have Mason Rudolph, guys.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Mr. Helmet to the head? Hell no.
I actually didn't mind Mason Rudolph. I thought he was okay, to be honest. Not great by any stretch of the imagination. I thought he was okay.
Is it because he was an Iowa Hawkeye?
No.
Now wait a minute.
Hold on. John looked it up. Steelers off. I'm telling you, if he has his first game or two and he's getting put on his butt and he's getting hurt physically, he is going to become a freaking problem in that locker room.
Yes, he is.
He's going to become a problem before they even get back to
Aaron
the locker
Rodgers.
room.
Yeah,
chewing his whole line right in front of God and everybody with the TV cameras rolling.
Here's my question, Rob. How long until he gets Bakhtiari out of retirement and has the Steelers bring in Bach?
That honestly, I think David.
Here's
Bakhtiari
my question:
is fucking awesome, dude. That is one dude that I would go have a beer with, anytime. I mean, I bet you that would be a blast.
Yes,
but he knew you can only. I mean, what was he injured for 3 years in a row, trying to play, trying to make comebacks, and he finally is just like, okay, I'm done. I don't blame dude.
So unless he gets a Terminator leg, he's not.
Here's my question: how long does Tomlin last if Rodgers doesn't win any game?
Considering they're the exact opposite.
I don't think it's Tomlin because Tomlin's been the guy that's won multiple, trophies and everything there in Pittsburgh.
Right.
And he's been there. He's one of the longest tenured longest tenured and most successful head coaches that we've had in probably the past 30 years, roughly. If you minus Bill Belichick out of the equation, of course, he's one of the better coaches in the league. And I don't think it's
one second, Rob. Let me ask you a question before you finish the sentence.
Can I finish my sentence first?
What team did Tomlin come from?
He was a defensive coordinator for the Vikings for a year before he became a Pittsburgh Steelers head coach.
Yeah.
So there is that. But I think bringing in Aaron Rodgers, if somebody's going to take the blame, it's going to be the GM of that team before it's going to be the head coach.
Right. Yep.
Exactly. But like I said, who Tomlin came from what coaching tree? The Minnesota Vikings.
And also Pete Carroll came from the Vikings too.
You want to if we're going to jump down that rabbit hole, and I don't mind a bit, Darren or Matthew, you got the computer up.
Yep.
Google 1998 Minnesota Vikings coaching staff and start reading it off. You will shit your pants. People don't know this, or a lot of people that aren't Vikings fans don't know this, but start from the top with Dennis Green and start reading down the coaching staff on the 1998 Minnesota Vikings.
All right, so we have head coach Denny Green. We got offensive coordinator, then going to the Baltimore Ravens to win that Super Bowl, Mr. Brian Billick, Chip Myers, Carl Hargrave, Hubbard Alexander, Dave Atkins, head coach in waiting and offensive line coordinator, Mike Tice. You got Wade Harmon, Richard Solomon, Trent Waters, Tom Olivendati, Andre Patterson, Fogue Fazio, Gary Zahner. Do I do the strength and conditioning or not?
No, just get to the main coaches and coordinators.
Yep, those are all of them.
Were you expecting something else?
Yeah, that's not correct. What about what about Dungy?
Dungy was later on, dude. Was earlier.
Coach Fazio. My bad. But that era, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, there's a hell of a lot of good coaches.
I know, but Dungy was like maybe 96.
Or no, you're right. He was before Foles Fazio as a D coordinator. But that
no,
era,
Dungy was a Viking guy.
Dungy
Tomlin
was our defensive coordinator from 92 to 95. But he was
okay,
also the University of Minnesota defensive backs coach in 80.
Yep.
He actually became the Bucks head coach in 96. That's where he was in 98.
And 98. That's where you were thinking of Dungy, because Dungy was a Bucks,
but
Tampa Bay Buccaneers guy.
He did come off of that coaching tree, though. There's a lot of successful people that have been in and out of the Minnesota Vikings coaching tree in that time frame. So
yeah,
I could agree with you there too. He was like there's been a lot.
So John brings up this comment here, which is probably true. But he had Big Ben for all those years too.
Well, Big Ben, like, okay, so John, my argument to you on this is, like, there's a lot of players. He was the first year he was there, he had Jerome Bettis, right? The bus. He had a second running back. They handed off the ball a lot. But how many times did they throw the second year? A game. How many attempts did he throw versus run?
Oh, he'll have to look that up. But getting back to the KOC discussion, Luca was bringing up KOC earlier. Despite whatever miscues or bad play calls here and there that you want to put on KOC and question some things, I don't feel like we've had a coach since Dennis Green, since we just brought the Dennis Green era up, that could develop a quarterback, and I think we have one that can. And
I agree.
that's going to be the biggest difference in why I think the fans should be endearing themselves to KOC and everything else, because look at what the Chicago Bears have been doing basically since Jim McMahon. I mean, they can't develop a quarterback either. The Packers had back-to-back 2 successful things. Granted, they did not draft Favre. They got him, but they did largely develop Favre. And then Favre and the coaching staff largely developed Rodgers. You know, both ridiculously long and good NFL careers. The Lions, I mean, they're on a rental. Let's face it. They got Goff from the Rams.
But guys, Rob.
And let me finish my point. And we went. We had 1 year finishing up with Cousins, and then we got derailed because of the injury to McCarthy. But they took Darnold, who was considered damaged goods. Nobody wanted to touch him. And KOC managed to get him into a very good year, and basically it won 14 games with Sam Darnold. Now McCarthy's looking like the real deal in practice. I think that also right there is going to be one of the turnaround factors for the Vikings is the fact that KOC, we finally have a coach for the first time since the late 90s, early 2000s that can develop a quarterback. Okay, go ahead, Winkleman.
Okay, so this is what I was trying to say. I forget what I was trying to say, though. I forget. Sorry.
We're talking about being able to actually develop a quarterback for once in Minnesota of our own. Having a coach that knows how to develop a quarterback. Because that's what's plaguing the Bears. That's what has been plaguing the Lions.
Yep.
You know, they're on a rental, or they got
With
a
Goff,
guy from the Rams. You know, I was saying that's where I was going with that. Is we finally got a guy. You know, I mean, Zimmer couldn't develop jack shit outside of pass rushers and cornerbacks. You know, I don't even want to talk about Leslie Frazier or Childo the Dildo or the this other string of ridiculous stuff. Mike Tice. People are going to give Mike Tice credit for tall pepper, I guess.
Ed Fuckatel.
Donatel, who friggin' said we had no talent at all on this defensive team. Then the next season, we bring in a defensive coordinator, and all of a sudden, this defense went from last place to first, almost top 5.
Yeah. So, since we are talking about quarterbacks, we have a few quarterbacks up for the Hall of Fame next year. Phillip Rivers, do you think he's going to get in? Yes or no?
Yes.
No.
Ooh, you do.
Yeah.
No.
You don't think so?
Even with him not winning a Super Bowl, his stats speak for themselves. He's underrated.
Okay.
He is underrated, but I'm going to tell you this right now. If Jim Marshall's not making it, Phillip Rivers shouldn't make it.
Okay. Rob, do you think Rivers makes it? Yes or no?
Yes, but not on the first ballot.
Okay.
I could agree with Rob on that part.
I think, as you know, and we all have played fantasy football, for years and years and years. So that ever since fantasy football became a thing, it makes you really, really pay attention to like individual stats and stuff like that. And granted, sometimes stats can be inflated because you lack in-game context with what's going on. But generally speaking, you play for a decade or longer at the quarterback position. There are certain milestones that you hit in terms of yardage, career touchdowns, career interceptions, and stuff like that. And you get a big enough sample size. If you're good, you're good. If you're great, you're great. And if you're not good, I mean, it kind of speaks for itself. Phillip Rivers was a good, I'm not going to put him in a great category, but borderline great that I think had all the ability in the world. And it's just the Chargers were the Chargers.
Okay, Rob Chesterton. Question. Doug Flutie. First ballot Hall of Famer.
No.
No.
Why? He had the stats, right?
He did have the stats, and he was actually, when I was growing up, one of my favorite players to watch. I had a box of Flutie Flakes back in the day, and you know, I think the thing that the voters are gonna,
and that's the same argument as you have with Phillip Rivers.
It was not all Doug Flutie. In fact, it's only like 1 year or whatever else. But the 4 years in a row of the Buffalo Bills losing the Super Bowl and Flutie being involved with that, and then I mean he was good on every team that he played with and everything. But I feel like
Jim Kelly, you can argue a lot of these players. Yeah, but I think Jim Kelly made this Hall of Fame, but
I agree with that, Brent.
I do think Flutie will get in. I mean, one of the biggest moments off the field I remember is what the hell was the guy who was selected second after Peyton Manning? Was it Ryan Leaf?
Yeah, Ryan Leaf.
Yeah.
When Ryan Leaf was trying to get mentored by Doug Flutie, Ryan Leaf goes, "Don't talk to me, all right? Knock it off," in the locker room in front of cameras.
Right. Well, if we're going to do a list of biggest busts,
but that's the Raiders quarterback. That's the biggest bust of all time.
You think Jamarcus Russell is a bigger bust than Ryan Leaf?
Yeah.
Ryan Leaf, I would say, is
I'd say Ryan Leaf takes the cake.
I think
because
Jamarcus was a more expensive bust that did longer lasting damage, but that's also the Raiders doing Raider stuff.
Now what about Brady Quinn bust?
No. Brady Quinn, what about Johnny Football?
Bust.
Manziel, yeah. I said he was going to be a bust by the time he was still in his junior year at Texas A&M. There's no way this translates to the NFL.
Mitch the bitch, that was just a Bears bust.
Trubisky has actually made a good career of himself as a backup quarterback.
As a backup, but as a first-round draft pick, you're telling me you would take a first-round draft pick as a backup quarterback?
The Bears did reach on that one. They did get fleeced.
It's not really
and look at who was behind him.
Like that. Mahomes. It's not it's not Mitchell Trubisky's fault that the Bears broke both arms and their collarbone reaching for Trubisky where they picked him there. I mean that he had to be the most surprised person in the room when that happened. You know,
right? Like a kid in a candy shop. Like a kid in a candy shop.
No, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that Trubisky. I would have taken Trubisky at that pick. He had a higher ceiling than Mahomes. No one knew who Mahomes was.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do me a
Other
favor.
than
Look up Russell Wilson's draft position because I honestly do not remember. Look that up, Matthew, since you got the computer up.
6th round, and
See.
and to make matters worse, Matt Flynn and a former Vikings starting quarterback.
He was a 3rd round pick, number 75, out of Wisconsin.
Yes.
3rd round?
Yeah,
Okay.
he was,
Well, still, Matt Flynn. And what the hell is that guy's name?
Tavares Jackson.
Javaris Jackson. Yeah.
So there's another story of as to where a guy ends up being wildly successful and everything, but so you got just as many instances like that where it's a later round or a mid-round draft pick that ends up being the guy and everything, and then you have all kinds of the first round is volatile. And I will say we're actually, for the second time in career history and everything, sitting here with a very high picked quarterback in the first round that we drafted, right? That's a high up in the first round, and that's why I'm saying it's so important that KOC gets this right, because him and Kwesi and everybody on the staff, their jobs hinge around this being successful. Now, do I expect perfection in realistically as year 2, but for all intents and purposes, year 1 of JJ McCarthy, do I expect perfection, a Pro
No.
Bowl performance, and a trip deep into the playoffs out of a rookie? No, because he's going to have a lot of times where he is going to look like a rookie playing in his first NFL season, wearing the uniform, actually being on the field. But what I think we need to look at throughout the year is how fast does he get coached up to start eliminating some of these tendencies, not making the mistakes, learning from the mistakes he did make, and just getting better every week. Because we've had a lot of quarterbacks that we've picked up that we get them, and what you get is what you get. We haven't been able to coach them up. We haven't been able to train them. We haven't been able to see that progress week to week and everything.
But that's the difference between KOC and a lot of our head coaches.
Right. Where do you put Ponder at on lists of busts?
I put him in the top 5.
I'll say
Exactly.
top 10.
That set our franchise back.
One second. Javaris Jackson. I mean, honestly, if I look at Ponder, how many seasons did he actually play?
I'd have to look that up. It wasn't a really long career.
Yeah, well, it wasn't long until we kicked him to the curb.
I want to say it was maybe half a season, but Javaris Jackson played a lot more than he did.
Well, I don't remember Tavares Jackson's draft position, but I know it was extremely late, and Childress drafted him to be a wide receiver, and then found out during camp he could actually play quarterback better than he could play wide receiver, and then they started that project with him.
Joe Webb too.
Was 2011 to 2016.
So he had a 5-year career, which is respectable.
Respectable, yeah. But Joe Webb. Joe Webb was the receiver.
Joe Webb was also drafted as a receiver and then ended up being able to play quarterback.
Right.
So he had 10 years.
As a receiver. What the hell, dude?
How about T-Jack? Where was T-Jack drafted, Chesterton?
Tavares Jackson. I can spell right.
I'm going to let you make that statement. Go, Pack, go. He says the Packers are going to retake the North.
No.
Notice how he didn't say what year that is, so I'll let you slide with that for now.
2006 to 2015, Tavares Jackson is now deceased.
Yep.
What?
What round did they draft him at, though?
He was drafted out of Alabama State in 2006, 64th in the second round.
Okay, so he was actually a second rounder. All right.
He was a second rounder? Damn.
I thought he was drafted a lot later than that. I guess.
Same here.
I remember. So.
Accuracy issues. But I could have swore
Maybe I
Ponder
was
didn't
thinking of Joe Webb.
start that much with us.
There is one other quarterback. I do want to ask if you guys think we'll make it in the first ballot. And if you guys say no, I'm going to have to reach through this screen and just choke you out.
Okay.
Drew Brees.
Okay.
Oh yeah, first ballot.
Yeah, first round.
I mean, he's got the numbers and the Super Bowl trophy.
Yeah.
That's I see that going.
Even though I'm like truthfully fucking still pissed off to this fucking day that they got that fucking championship after they, you know, intentionally fucking hurt people that whole fucking season to win their only fucking belt that they're ever gonna win.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, still to this day, fuck the Saints.
Fuck the Saints, but you know, hey,
The only guy that I respect from that team is Drew Brees. Fuck the coach, Sean Payton. He's a Timu fucking Kevin James.
Yeah, I'm surprised Drew Brees never won a league MVP.
I'm surprised too.
I mean, he should have.
Yeah.
He's got everything to prove it.
I think Jim Marshall should be on that list this year.
He'll be part of the veterans or.
But but the thing that pisses me off is like, why wait till a guy passes?
And yeah, and see that's the thing. Marshall's on the list on the basically the like you said the old guys list.
The veterans.
Every year they pass him up and everything, and that's just it. If they do actually make it happen, I'm good, but I'm still pissed that it took him passing away to find out.
Exactly.
You know? And that we're basically out of time for this show, but in terms of final thoughts, that is my final thought.
That's
Jim,
my final.
You need to be in the Hall of Fame.
If he does not make it in,
it's an absolute travesty that it took Jim passing for anybody to fight. If they even do it, it's an absolute travesty. They couldn't have honored that man while he was still with us. That's all I got to say.
Yep.
Me too.
So until next time, we will see you guys next week. Same great time, same great place. We'll see you guys soon.
Yeah, yo, it's game time, ain't no messing around. Huddle Sports Network, the best in town. From NFL rumors to the latest trends, we got all your sports, just tune in, my friends. Catch us on Roku, Fire Stick, take your pick. Facebook, YouTube, where the action's slick. Daily shows that drop like a bomb. From 10 to 11, it's Ken and Ken, stay calm. Huddle up, catch the vibe, feel the rush. Get your news, get your fills in the clutch. Over 27 podcasts, we breaking it down. Join the team, Huddle Sports, wear the crown. Live every weekday, it's how we roll. Lions Talk with Jeremy B, we taking a stroll. From 11 to 12, don't miss a beat. We break down the game, make the info sweet. The Daily Huddle Podcast, noon to 1. CST Zone, we're just having fun. Toss your doubts, we bring the facts. Tune into the Huddle.